April Perry and Jonathan Bailor back with another episode of the SANE Show. And today we're talking about how to find a green smoothie you love. And Jonathan, if you had suggested this to me 5 years ago, I would have said, what is a green smoothie and how could I possibly love that?
Well, April, you actually, there was a little controversy before we started recording today because you said, Jonathan, I don't think we should call these green smoothies. I think we should call them blended spinach because they are nothing like what I get at Jamba Juice.
Spinach. Exactly, because when I make a green smoothie that's actually more healthy for me, it doesn't taste anything like all the sweetness that I'm used to when I go to a smoothie store. But you had a good idea what to call the smoothies at the smoothie store.
Yes, glass of diabetes is what is what we should call it. Because actually, a lot of people don't realize this, but the standard smoothie at Jamba Juice, you're looking at 70 grams of sugar. Now, I know we don't carry around little gram measuring thing. Oh, grams, that means so much to me. But to put that in perspective, you could drink two cans of Cokes and still not be there. So it's like, oh, my healthy breakfast of Jamba Juice. And then someone sitting next to you is like, actually, I just drank 2 Cokes for breakfast and I took in less sugar than you did.
And and I didn't even know that. In our college, we had a juice spot right there next to our campus. And it was so easy to go just pick up a juice. And I'm thinking, oh, you get those boosters in there, right? There's like a fat burning booster and there's all this energy or extra protein or fiber or something. And I thought I was doing something good for my body. And so that actually wasn't the case. So today we're actually answering a question from Danette. She's part of our SANE Families program, and she sent me this question, which I thought was just brilliant the way that she phrased it. So I'll just go ahead and read it. But she said, I am in the SANE Families program, and I'm trying to start with smoothies and getting my veggies in each day, which is awesome. And then she had a few questions like, how many ounces of spinach constitute 1 serving? So I think that's a great question because if you're trying to get 10 plus servings of vegetables a day, you kind of want to know how much spinach do I need? Then she said, what is your favorite flavorless protein powder, favorite chocolate protein powder, favorite vanilla protein powder? Now, you don't have to put protein powders in your spinach smoothies, so we'll talk more about that. But I thought those were just really valid questions. Great. And then she's essentially just saying, I tried some other protein powders, but it was really hard to find some that weren't gross. So she'll know what we liked. So I thought this was a great chance for Jonathan and I just to talk about why spinach smoothies are important. Let's talk a little bit about servings, about ingredients, and let's just help people figure out how to get more green smoothies into their diet.
Well, first and foremost, April, I love the spirit of the spinach smoothie tagline, but I do want to let folks know that while spinach is a great starting point, actually spinach and romaine, we almost always recommend folks start with those because they're so easy and versatile, and they're the least bitter of the green leafy vegetables. Once you become an experienced spinach smoothie maker, you can get into all kinds of fun stuff like Swiss chard and kale and yada yada yada, but that comes further down the road.
Right. And one little tip I'll add is don't freeze your romaine lettuce. I do freeze my spinach, but Jonathan and Angela came to visit our family and I said, hey, Jonathan, I've got some frozen romaine my son accidentally stuck in the freezer. Can we use it? It's like, sure, just kind of rinse it off. And as I was doing it, it turned into the most disgusting stuff ever. So don't freeze your romaine. But yes, I will say that last time I went to the grocery store, they had chard and I'd never purchased that before. I'd never gone over to that area of the produce department because it scared me. But I was really used to eating spinach smoothies, drinking spinach smoothies, and felt like, okay, I'm ready for something else. And it was fantastic. Not even as gross as I thought it was going to be.
Well, that's my goal is it's not as gross as I thought it would be is pretty much the testimonial we're always looking for things that are related to SANE. But if you do venture over to the green leafy vegetable section of your grocery store and want to get a little adventurous, like April is doing, a general rule of thumb is if you touch the vegetable. So for example, mustard greens are very robust. They almost feel like a cabbage. You're right. There's some like romaine is flimsy. If romaine got in a fight with kale, it'd probably lose because kale is this firm, sturdy vegetable, whereas romaine and spinach are a little bit more. So the firmer the vegetable is, the more it's like a solid thing, the harder that is going to be to incorporate into a smoothie. But the more, let's say, flimsy or flexible the vegetable is, the easier it is to integrate. So if you, for example, put turnip greens in a smoothie, that's probably going to be a disaster because those are really, really firm green vegetables.
I wasn't about to do that, by the way. It wasn't wasn't on my list.
You're not just pining to put turnip greens into your green smoothie?
Yeah. Okay. Let's try not to gross people out here in this. Let's talk, maybe just, can we explain what a serving size is for spinach?
Yes,
because
sorry, we haven't.
you buy a big bag of spinach, you're trying to make a smoothie. How much spinach are we talking for a glass, like one spinach smoothie? What would you suggest?
So the literal question, and I think it's important to address the literal question because there's 2 points I want to make about it. And because the literal question was, how many ounces of spinach constitute one serving? So in a sane lifestyle, we're not doing ounces,
weighing,
calories, precision, scale measuring. We don't have an obesity epidemic and no one's struggling with their health because they don't have to the gram accurate measurements of what they're eating. So what we want to focus on is ease, simplicity, sanity. So a serving of spinach is what you can fit in your hands cupped like this. That's one serving of raw spinach. And that makes a lot of sense because if you have a 5-year-old child, what they can hold like this is a lot smaller than what your 6'5", 18-year-old football playing son can hold, right? So one serving of spinach varies by person. So we want to use our hands as the baseline for that. So what you hold in one hand like this, or 2 hands cupped like this, that is a serving. So ideally in your spinach smoothie, you're working your way up to say, grab this much spinach, put it in there. Do that again, put it in there. Do that again, put it in there. That would be 3 servings if you did that.
Yeah, exactly. And like this morning, I was making some green smoothies because I knew I had a busy day today. I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of time to like eat. I like carrots, but you know, it takes a while to eat a carrot. We're filming. So I made a whole bunch of green smoothies this morning, and we actually did about 12 servings of spinach in a huge blender, blended all of that up. I used the little cottage cheese containers you recommended, which has been awesome. And so I poured 3 servings in empty cottage cheese containers, put those in the fridge. And then I had another glass that I drank right then. So it was wonderful. I was able to say, okay, I had 12 servings of spinach in the blender. It made 4 smoothies. That's about 3 servings of vegetables per glass. That's really easy. I even label it GS for green smoothie. My kids say gross smoothie, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes.
And the other thing you can do is if you do go to Costco, for example, I'm a big Costco fan myself, and they have these big bags. I think it's 3-pound bags of spinach. It's like $3. On the bag, it says this is 28 servings of spinach. If you want, just use that number, right? This is not about, oh my gosh, I ate 7 servings versus 6. It's not, eat a lot of vegetables is the goal. And just so you could take that whole bag, this is actually something we did together, April, when we were recording at your house. Just say, take that bag of spinach when you've got some time, listen to an audio book, take the whole bag of spinach, just blend it by itself. And like you said, label it and just be in this container contains 20 servings of pre-blended spinach. Exactly.
Okay, and so in the Sane Families program, we have the whole video and we talk about what ingredients we put into our spinach smoothies or blended spinach. Maybe let's just talk about some of our favorite ingredients, because there's a couple ways to do this. Well, there's multiple ways to do this, but partly is if you just want to be getting your vegetables, you don't need to be using extra protein powders or things like that. So a lot of people are saying things like, I just don't want to use protein powders. I either don't like them or I just don't think they're as natural as other things I could put in my smoothies. So what would you suggest as far as favorite protein powders or things to add to your green smoothies?
To your point, April, before before we get into the specific protein powders, asking why am I drinking this smoothie, right? The saying is, a lot of lifestyle programs out there are about eat this for breakfast now, eat this for lunch. And that's why they never work, because that's not how life works. And you can just, that would be like saying, hey, the way to learn math is to memorize the combination of every possible number. You can't do that. You have to learn the rules and then you apply the rules, right? So the rule here for smoothies is you have to ask yourself, am I drinking this smoothie because I want to drink something that is really sweet and green? Or do I want to get a lot of vegetables? Maybe for breakfast, I didn't eat vegetables and I want to eat just a bunch of vegetables. So that's going to be a different smoothie than, hey, I want to help my children eat more vegetables, but I'm going to have to make that, I'm going to have to address the taste. So there is no one right formulation for a green smoothie. You have to look at what your goal is for that smoothie. So why does this matter? So we're asking about protein powders. If your goal with your green smoothies is like my personal goal, which is that's how I eat 80% of my vegetables, then I would never put protein powder in a green smoothie because I'm getting my protein from the meals.
Right, exactly.
I'm eating. So there is no right formulation. There's the formulation that's right for your goal. But if you are going to add protein powder, keep in mind that now you're using this smoothie as more of a meal. This is a meal. Now
Wow.
you're adding
Mm,
protein powder to it. You might then even consider adding some whole food fats, like
yeah.
some coconut, like some avocado. I mean, you could do wonderful stuff if you want to get more elaborate and turning your smoothie into a meal.
Right.
But that's a bit of a different thing. So right now, I would strongly green smoothies to me are not about meal replacements. The thing that makes green smoothies awesome is taking the number one challenge I believe we face as a nation and as individuals, and that's eating enough vegetables and saying, look, here's the shortcut, here's the trick, here's the
Hmm.
secret. It's green smoothies. It's blend the stuff up. And then if you're doing that, you really never have to worry about protein powder.
Exactly. And just from a family perspective, I love that you asked that question. Why are we drinking the green smoothie? That's a question that I have to ask when it comes to feeding green smoothies to my children, because my children don't typically have green vegetables. They don't go to the fridge and say, hey, how could I consume spinach? Or how could I consume kale? My children are not doing that. So I have to deliberately prepare, chop, pack vegetables, have them available to them, and then they'll eat them up. But that's totally true. If I'm giving my children green smoothies, they won't touch the ones that I drink that are just, blended spinach. They don't want anything to do with that, which is totally fine because their goals are different than my goals. But if I can say, all right, we're going to start out we started out with fruit juice and like some bananas and berries. Then we started watering the fruit juice down, like you'd suggested in previous episodes. So just being able to figure out how can we figure out how to give a great amount of spinach, green vegetables to my children in the form of a smoothie in a way that they enjoy drinking it. That was a great question. And it's also really helpful if you have opaque cups and opaque straws and maybe some tinfoil or a lid over it so they can't even see it's green. Then they are a lot happier. Just a little note.
Absolutely. And I want to give a quick disclaimer because we're talking about both children and adults. This is more of an adult suggestion, but your kids, at least my observation has been that kids find it a lot easier, having been a kid myself, to do something that is congruent with what your parents are doing. So for example, if your parent is not doing something and they're telling you should do it, even as a child, you're like, wait a minute, this whole do as I say, not as I do thing is a little hard to accept. So step one is almost always going to be get the adult to start drinking and enjoying green smoothies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with adults, I would say, oh, this is bitter. So I want to, in defense of bitter. So bitter is the least appreciated flavor of the flavors we have available to us, right? We all like the savory flavor and the sweet flavor and the salty flavor. There's this whole genre called bitter. You're like, I drank this, it tasted bitter. So bitter is a flavor that is often acquired. And the one mental trick I'd encourage us to use is when you first try something that's bitter, you generally won't like it. But that doesn't mean people don't like the taste of bitter things. So this is not an endorsement. It's just a statement of fact. A lot of people really enjoy drinking beer. Beer is incredibly bitter, as is wine. The first time you try to drink beer or wine, you will say, oh my gosh, this is disgusting and bitter. But as you get older and as you continue to drink it, you'll notice that you not only come to accept the bitterness, but it can become so delicious that people start to abuse it. Now, you will actually find a healthy addiction of sorts forming with green smoothies. Both myself and my wife can attest to this. In April, you can attest to this because she and I were pining for green smoothies when we were traveling and we came to visit you, because you start to crave these flavors. So again, just because something isn't sweet or salty right off the bat, bitterness, I promise you, is as valid of a flavor. And if you give it a chance, you will develop a taste for it and a craving for it.
And I will also add that as parents are setting an example for their children, as we're making our green smoothies, as we're drinking our green smoothies, our children may not want to drink them right away, but they're watching and they're noticing our habits. I mean, just this morning, my son Ethan came into the kitchen and he said, hey, Mom, is there anything I can do to help you? And I thought, wow, that is a great question. So I said, well, sure, I'm making my green smoothie while I'm also trying to put some stuff in the crock pot. Can you help me? He plugged in the blender for me. He helped me put the spinach in. He helped me blend it. He got me some frozen strawberries. He totally took care of me and helped me make the green smoothie this morning. So although he didn't drink any of it, my 12-year-old son just prepared a green smoothie and knows how to do it. So you think about that in the future when he's wanting more vegetables or he's wanting to improve his body or whatever it is that he's working on as an adult, he has these skills that now you've taught me and I've taught him.
And a lot of things that are needed, especially as the children get older, there are things completely independent of weight or what we would generally perceive as health that green smoothies can help with. Because what is a green smoothie? At the end of the day, a green smoothie is the single most concentrated source of real food nutrition you will ever take in. There is no more efficient way to get a maximum amount of that which heals your body into your body than a green smoothie. So for example, say you have an adolescent male child who has an acne breakout. You could put a bunch of toxic acid on his face, which is what some of the prescription medications are. And I tried some of those myself, and I would never do that again. Or you could try to eat more green smoothies and cut down on some other substances in your diet. You know, your skin is oftentimes a reflection of what's going on inside your body. So that extremely high dose of nutrition, things that you wouldn't think about, they can affect really, really strongly. So that's another good sort of tool to have in the toolbox.
I can picture the day when a pediatrician sees a patient for acne and writes a prescription for green smoothies. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be very, very awesome. And April, I do want to, we've talked about bitter, we've talked about getting kids to enjoy green smoothies. And I did want to give just a quick plug. I've been talking about green smoothies for a long time. And the bitterness, the taste of it, getting enough vegetables is something people have struggled with a lot. So we did develop something called Garden in My Glass, which is just powdered, pure super fruits and vegetables that's sweetened with stevia, which is a natural non-caloric sweetener. It's like an herb. It's like cinnamon. And not only is this a great source of vegetables, but it actually really helps with the flavor of smoothies because it's going to give you some super fruits. And I'm not talking about grapes and bananas and apples. I'm talking about acai berries, noni berries, things you can't buy at your grocery store. Plus, it's going to throw some stevia in the smoothie. Plus, it's going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional servings of vegetables to the smoothie. So for example, if you're at a point where you're putting more strawberries and more oranges in your smoothie and less spinach because you need that sweetness, what you can find is just immediately, you could maybe exclude some of that higher sugar fruit, throw in a few tablespoons of Garden in My Glass. Not only will it sweeten the smoothie naturally with stevia without any hormonal damage, but it's also going to take that vegetable count way up. So that's a really nice, true smoothie boost, not the nonsense at Jamba Juice that you can toss in there.
So I love that you're bringing up really specific things that we can put in our smoothies. Let's put together maybe just what's our bulleted list. What is it that we would want to say if someone came to you and said, okay, Jonathan, if I've got spinach, if I have a little bit of low fructose fruit, I've got water, maybe some lemon juice, what are some other things that you would suggest I put in my smoothie? So Garden in My Glass is one. Anything else?
The palette for the perfect green smoothie. So the core primary, right, red, yellow, blue are the primary colors. So let's talk about the primary constituents of a green smoothie. So from a vegetable perspective, so spinach, I'd also throw romaine lettuce in there because romaine lettuce is even sweeter than spinach. So spinach and romaine, and then you're looking at low fructose fruits. So lemon is the best go-to because it has basically no sugar in it. It does a great job of cutting the acidity. Then oranges, strawberries. So those are your low fructose fruits. Then when we get into, let's call them boosters, Garden in My Glass, which you can get at store.sanesolution.com, just fabulous. It's going to make it super nutritionally dense. Plus, it's going to make it sweeter. And then one that not a lot of people know about, well, let's get to that one last. Cinnamon is next. So cinnamon does a great job of cutting through the bitterness, and you can put a lot of cinnamon in. And cinnamon is it helps with blood sugar. It helps with appetite. It's just generally really, really good for you. And then last but not least is going to be apple cider vinegar. So this is undistilled apple cider vinegar. When you go to the store, if the vinegar is clear, that's not undistilled apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is brown and cloudy and actually has this stuff. It's called the mother at the bottom of the bottle. And when you put that in the smoothie, it makes it taste more like apple cider. It's a one and added bonus. And this has been transformative for me because I eat so many vegetables. Is it really helps with digestion, because a green smoothie in and of itself might have more fiber in it than you've ever eaten in a day in your entire life. So having a little bit
adjustment to going sane.
Yes.
Having so many vegetables.
Yes. So throw in some apple cider vinegar in there. And again, just to taste. So you're looking at a teaspoon of cinnamon. Uh, you can be pretty generous with the apple cider vinegar. I would just add it a teaspoon at a time until you find the level that you like. But those are some great key components.
Okay, that's great. And we do also suggest having a Vitamix or a really strong blender to be able to blend all of it up, because if you try using a really weak blender, first of all, it's going to take forever. And second of all, you're going to end up with lots of spinach clumps still in the smoothie, and that's not very appetizing. But I love the suggestion that you gave, is that you're not necessarily trying to make the smoothie taste good. You're just trying to make it not taste bad if your goal is just to get more vegetables. Now, I will say there's a lot of really different great protein powders out there. I know SANE store has a protein powder that's like flavorless, right? That just goes right into your green smoothie if you were adding protein.
Yeah, so if you're adding protein, you can use protein as a flavoring component, or you can just use it as a source of protein. So at the SANE store, we have something we call clean whey protein, which we're very proud of because it's the only thing on the market like it. It's pure grass-fed whey protein concentrate. No flavoring, no coloring, no additives, no preservatives, nothing. You just can't. It's shocking, but the simplest thing in the world is the one thing you can't find on the market. And that's a great additive to a smoothie if you want protein. And if you're not looking for the protein to be a flavoring component in the recipe.
Yeah. And so one of my favorite green smoothie recipes is using the UMP vanilla protein powder and spinach and an orange and the zest of an orange. Honestly, I make that and it's makes me really happy. And that recipe we found at the back of your book, The Calorie Myth. So that was really helpful too.
And there's also another two more tricks to green smoothies, and these get away from the pure vegetable smoothie and more just consistency, make the smoothies better. So, and I credit Carrie Brown with this brilliant idea, putting just a little bit of an avocado in a green smoothie and potentially a little bit of a substance called guar gum, which is an extract from legumes, can really help with the consistency. And the other thing in terms of consistency, April, you already mentioned Vitamix or a good blender. I want to give a very important, I love Vitamix. I don't work for them, but I've been using a Vitamix blender for a really, really long time. And I want to tell people something that I think is really, really important. And that the Vitamix company is not going to be happy with me about this, but Vitamix sells $600 blenders. You do not need the $600 Vitamix. It's prettier, it's quieter. But here's the secret. You can get the baseline level of the Vitamix, and this is hard to do otherwise because they don't encourage you to do this, but you can get the baseline version of a Vitamix that just has an on-off switch and a high-low switch, no bells and whistles. You can get it refurbished, but it still has the 5 to 7 year warranty, and it's I forget what it is, but it's $275, and it's got a 7-year warranty. And we've got them for you at the SANE store. Again, that's store.sanesolution.com. But you look at a standard Vitamix, $600 for a blender. That's crazy. You're right. It is crazy. You can get a Vitamix for under $300 if you go to the SANE store.
That's awesome. And I mean, it might seem kind of strange that we're spending so much time talking about green smoothies, but I love what you mentioned earlier, that if you want to put nutrition into your body, if you want your body to be able to burn fat, to work optimally, giving yourself green smoothies is one of the easiest, best ways to do that. And I just think whether you're starting with adding a handful of green smoothie into a regular smoothie that you've already been enjoying, and then slowly trying to reduce the sugar, increase the vegetable intake, whatever it is you're trying to do, those techniques and bringing more spinach into your life actually helps dramatically, which might be surprising.
It will ripple through. It will ripple through everything. That's the next action for this episode is just quite honestly, if you, just find some way to eat spinach or romaine blended with strawberries or oranges in a blender as often as you can. That in and of itself, right? You read all these magazines, all these tips, all these terrifying posts on the internet about BPA and the sun is going to kill you. And oh my gosh, the waters are contaminated and there's air pollution and we're all going to die, except no one's eating enough vegetables. And you can eat vegetables really easily, really seamlessly by turning them into green smoothies. So just find a green smoothie recipe using the baseline components that we talked about here. And it is easily the simplest and most beneficial thing you could add to your diet to transform your life, your health, and that of the folks you love.
Well, you said it. That's awesome. I am so grateful for this conversation. It renews my enthusiasm to continue drinking my green smoothies, to continue to find ways to up the vegetables in my diet, because honestly, that's what gives me energy, helps me feel so excited, and helps me to stay sane in many ways. So thank you, Jonathan. And we're excited for you guys to take your next action. Go do it. Go try having one green smoothie each day for the next week, and then see what it does, see what a difference it's made for you. So good luck. Thanks for being with us. And remember to stay sane.